All right. So I am going to go through the process of writing a personal focus worksheet, writing the ISP agenda, and the individual support plan. Okay? Now, this is very important. If you want to follow along with me, so you kind of, I think, have two options. You can either just watch me go through the process, take notes, or do whatever you want, or you can follow along with me. Okay? If you are going to follow along with me, I ask that you put yourself in test mode. And how you do that is you come down here to Settings, and where it says Test Mode, you want to hit On. And the sides of your screen should show up as, I don't know what you would, some people call that color yellow, some people call it orange. Up to you what you want to call it, but you just want to make sure that it's there. Because when you're in test mode, you can do things like practice, try different things, and it doesn't affect what's in your account. What you don't want to do is just log in regular and start playing around because your data is live. Okay? So again, if you are going to follow along with me on the process, make sure you are in test mode. Okay? So now we want to come to our individual tab. Okay? And you'll notice that it all works here. Everything in test mode, you will have on all your individual information, such as the PFW, the ISP agenda, and the individual support plan. Okay? If you have a question, probably the best thing to do is to put it in that chat box here. And I'll get a little warning that there's a question in there, and I will stop and try and answer it. I will also periodically ask if there are any questions. Okay? And there's not a lot of background noise right now, so that's wonderful. We've got 35 folks here, so it seems to be going well. Okay? So let's start. Usually the first thing that you would do is your personal focus worksheet. Okay? So you hit New here. And you choose the person you're working with. Okay? I'm going to choose Haley here. All right? And this is the personal focus worksheet. Okay? And you do the start date and the end date. Typically, the start date and the end date are the length of time that the ISP you're now going to be writing are from. Okay? So I'm going to say it's effective, the start date is September 1st, and the end date is August 31st of next year, a full year. Okay? The first part, section 1, describes what is most important to this person from his or her perspective. Okay? And describe the relationship in this person's life. Okay? So I want to hit add here. Describe the relationship in this person's life. Okay? Haley is very close to her family. She enjoys going to their home every other weekend. Haley is closer to her mom than her dad. She has 2 younger siblings. And their relationships are strained at times. Okay? So that's really the answer to the question. Describe the relationship in this person's life. Okay? Now, the agenda question is, so I could add this to the agenda. Are there relationships that should be developed or changed? Okay? And we can say, Haley currently does not have a boyfriend and would like to have one. Okay? Now I want to hit done and go to next. And I go to the next question. Describe what this person enjoys and list his or her interests. Okay? All right. Haley enjoys music and movies. Her favorite movie is Frozen. She can sing all the songs by heart. Right? Her favorite food is tacos. She likes going to the movies. Wrestling matches, basketball games. And snowmobiling. All right, whatever that, kind of their interests are. Okay? Then if you wanted to add the agenda question, right? Which of these interests are not happening as much as the person would like? From the team's perspective, which of these interests, if any, need to be limited? Right? So if I put down one of Haley's interests was to go to buffets and Haley was overweight, perhaps I'd want to talk about the need for that to be limited. Okay? Are there things here that are listed that she likes to do that need to maybe happen more often? Okay? Haley feels that she doesn't get to go snowmobiling as often as she likes. Her snowmobile is kept at her family's farm, which is an hour from her residence. Haley would like to move snowmobile closer to her. Okay? And Don, go to next. Describe what the person dislikes. Okay? Haley.
Actually, yeah. Did you figure out your phone?
Eventually, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't make sure I call in to the phone too.
I didn't either. I had to mess with it too. So
well, thanks
I tried
for
to talk to. Yeah. Well, I tried to call you earlier, but your line was busy, so I figured you probably figured it out, but just wanted to make sure.
And right now they're just going over how to do the PFW, correct?
Oh, they can hear it. I think there's a.
Jean, we can hear you guys.
I'm sorry.
All right. So if you're on your computer, and I understand we're going to be here for probably another 2 hours. If you need to mute your phone or your computer, that's fine. If you need to, I understand that there's probably going to be things that come up that you'll need to take care of. So that's fine. All right, so Haley dislikes seafood and dogs. All right? And then you could add to the agenda if you wanted which of these dislikes needs to be explored, changed, or stopped. All right? And we don't think, right? Lots of people don't like seafood. No, she doesn't like dogs. She doesn't like dogs if you need to, right? So we're not going to put an agenda question for this PFW. We're just going to move on to the next. All right? And again, in this first part, section 1, we're just talking about what Haley wants. Okay? What staff want, what mom and dad want, what the sisters want, doesn't really matter. We're talking about what does Haley want. Okay? Haley would like to have a boyfriend and get a part-time job waitressing as a waitress at the Pizza Ranch. All right? There we go. What steps could be taken over the next ISP period to move towards these goals? Okay? So, Haley has never had a job. She needs to develop skills that will allow her to do so. Include interviewing, or start with the whole process, writing a resume, interviewing, and social skills. All right? Again, Donna, go to next. Now, this is an important one. List and describe what is most important to this person from his or her perspective. So we're going to be able to, this is the one question out of all the questions that gets, you can pre-populate into the actual ISP. Okay? So what is most important from Haley's perspective? Okay? Family, is very important to Haley. She likes to visit with them, especially special occasions and holidays. Haley grew up in a family that was active in the outdoors. She enjoys hiking, snowshoeing, Haley enjoys Disney movies, especially ones with a strong female lead. Over the course of her life, Haley has felt that people underestimated her, and she does not like that. All right? And then the question is, what is most important to this person that is not happening or needs to be strengthened? Spelled occasions wrong. Twice. Is it one F? Oh my goodness. All right, there we go. Haley does not get to go fishing as often as she likes. Historically, she only went with her father in April of 2015. Mr. Luo had a heart attack and is not as active as he or Haley would like. Okay? Let's hit done here. So we've done section 1. And section 1 is what's most important to the individual, what's most important to Haley, what's her perspective. Okay? Now, section 2, which is questions 6 through 11, is what is happening in this person's life from anyone's perspective. Okay? Add here. Okay? What do people like and admire about Haley? Okay? Haley has a great sense of humor and is very empathetic towards others. She cares a great deal about animals, although she doesn't care for dogs. Okay? Haley likes to be independent. So to be trusted with that independence. Okay? And could any of these qualities be strengthened? We're going to say no. We don't need to put that on the agenda. Okay? Done, and go to next. Describe how this person interacts socially with others. Okay? Haley can be, or Haley finds situations that are crowded or meeting new people to be awkward. She can be very shy in these situations. She often may make light or jokes in situations that are not appropriate, and then feel bad. Okay? And does anything about this person's social interactions need to be changed or enhanced? Yeah. Haley could use skill development. On not making okay. Let's hit done and go to next here. We had a question. From Jamie. Jeff, to the last question about what people like and admire about someone, can you give us an example of when you would answer that question on strengthening, as it seems silly to me and kind of a downer, saying we all like this about you, but you could be better? Huh. So describe what people are. So let's edit that. Haley has a great sense of humor and is very empathetic towards others. She cares a great deal about animals, although she doesn't care for dogs. Haley likes to be independent. Okay. So could any of these qualities be strengthened? You know, let me give you, you know, an example I can use, and I like to lead with real life examples. So I used to work with a woman who had Prader-Willi syndrome, and when she was bound and determined to do something, she would do it at all costs. All right? So we all found that to be an admirable quality. She was tenacious. She would find what she wanted to do and do it, and didn't really care about the consequences. So she would often do things that would put her in jeopardy. She would do things that would, she would lie, she would steal, she would do whatever. So she had this overall good quality of being tenacious, but then going about it in ways that were not admirable, right? You know, you ever have that conversation with your mom, and mom's, you know, you do something silly, and mom said, well, you know, I love you, but not right now. I don't love what you did. And I guess from my perspective, it would be that way. It's not almost necessarily, maybe strengthening is not the right word, but how do you take somebody's quality that's admirable and funnel it into something positive? Okay, so say for example, this particular individual could be tenacious. She wanted to get things accomplished, but often they were things maybe that weren't good for her, like, you know, getting getting food that she wasn't supposed to get, or she wanted a boyfriend, right? And she also liked boys who dressed up in goth outfits, okay? But maybe trying to find a boyfriend on, gothlovers.com was not a good thing, because a guy in goth showed up at the door looking for love, and our staff answered it. So but in the same vein, she liked pit bulls, and she knew that there was a lot of negative feelings in the community about pit bulls. So how do you get her to say, all right, I want to strengthen my community's opinion about pit bulls in a positive light? How do I do that? So she could apply that same tenaciousness to something positive. It would be a good thing. Jamie, does that answer your question? Or did I babble on and not really answer it? Could you take the agenda questions in the context how to provide avenues to share these qualities with others, and in essence strengthen the practice of those qualities? Absolutely. Yep. Right? If Kaylee likes animals, what is she doing to nurture that admirable quality? Right? We all see that she likes, she cares about animals. What is she doing to do that? Is she caring for horses, if she really likes horses? Is she volunteering at a cat shelter? All sorts of different things. Absolutely. All right. Let's hit done here. And again, you go through, and answer all these. I don't know if it would behoove us to answer typically all of these, all these questions in a training opportunity. It's really more about the mechanics of, kind of how to do it. So let's not answer some of these here. Some of them are important. I'll take, for example, describe this person's employment alternative to employment program or school. Add, okay. Haley goes to a traditional day program. She doesn't particularly enjoy it. She is interested in employment. And is there anything about this person? So yes, she would like to be employed. Health information is another one. It's kind of one of those things where you have, information. You could have information in other places in Therap. There could be information on the individual in other providers' accounts in Therap. So you have some, I guess, some leeway here. I mean, if you want to, if you want to put down what she's diagnosed, has has diagnosis of autism and borderline personality disorder. Due to her diet, she suffers from chronic constipation, you know, whatever you want to. You have some leeway here. Then you have section 4. What would enhance this person's life from anyone's perspective? You know, what could improve this person's ability to be independent? So you notice that these oh my God. I hit the wrong button. Totally lost it. All right. I'm feeling some of Benchmark's pain. All right. What's most important that Haley? All right. I just want to stick this date back in here. All right. So you see here in section 4, a lot of describe what would enhance this person's life from anyone's perspective. What could improve this person's ability to be independent? And you'll notice that you have a text box to add things. Okay. You know, it needs to work on decision, right? And there's no agenda question here. That's because it's not on what the person wants. So that's what kind of designates some of these questions in section 1 from some of the other sections. So you see that not all of them have an agenda question that you could put in there. Okay. And this describe any areas of conflict between health and safety and what is most important to this person. Okay. So added here. So one of the things that we talked about earlier was Haley wants to keep her snowmobile at her residence as opposed to her family's home in Mitchell. However, she tends to be reckless with her snowmobile and not riding with her family. Okay, so you have something that Haley wants, okay, but it kind of can be in conflict with the way that she acts, okay? So before I approve this, are there any questions about the PFW? And I'm sorry we ended up losing the whole thing, but I think you kind of get I would find that the PFW of the 3 documents is probably the most self-explanatory to complete. Karen asked, would talking about a restriction in the person's life be appropriate to mention here as it conflicts with their personal desires? Absolutely. So we could say here, you know, Haley enjoys having time to herself without staff. However, in the past, she has, she has made decisions that put her at risk during times without staff supervision. And this is where I think you would maybe put some of your concerns with maybe things that happen at a day program or a residential program, right? So you're, particularly now that you're conflict-free case managers, maybe some of those things you can look at, right? So, Haley used to have alone time at a residential program. 5 years ago, she went off and stole a candy bar from 7-Eleven, and over those 5 years, she had never been allowed to have alone time because everyone thinks she's going to go to 7-Eleven and steal a candy bar, right? So this might be where you document the idea of that this subject needs to be broached, right? Haley would feel better about herself if she had alone time. It's been 5 years since anything happened. Can we look at reestablishing some alone time and having Haley rebuild that trust with her team? Or any of those things. Maybe she wants to have a romantic relationship, but she's uneducated about what that means. There's a perfect opportunity to put that kind of stuff in here as well. All right. Anything else on the PFW? All right, well, let's approve it. And so now we've got step 1 done. Okay. We'll go back to the dashboard here. Now we're going to do the ISP agenda. Okay? So again, we hit new here. I want to show you something here real quick before I do that. You notice here under PFW, ISP agenda, and individual support plan, you have these boxes, new search and unified search. So unified search is not going to mean a lot to you guys right now, but it will mean a lot to CSPs after October 1st. Because once you're linked, right, so let's say, just for the sake of argument, Haley gets residential services from Dakota Abilities and she gets gate services from Lifescape. And I have no idea if that's geographically possible, but just as an example. So when you write this plan, agenda, and worksheet, because Haley is linked through the oversight account to all three providers, Benchmark, Lifescape, and Dakota Abilities, staff from Dakota Abilities and staff from Lifescape, if they went on this unified search, would be able to access Haley's individual support plan, agenda, and worksheet. So I know there have been there's a lot of questions and anxiety over that. So that's how that will work once we get these secondary accounts set up for folks. Okay. So let's go to new agenda here. Okay. And again, we choose Haley. All right. And we do the date. So we're going to say her meeting date was today. And we do that September 1st through August 31st of next year. All right. And we're going to say that this is her annual. Individualized items. I'm going to add these. All right. So, I went too fast. I apologize. So individualized items. Okay. So what are we going to talk about? So we can add here. Okay. We could do our own. What do we want to talk about? We have questions 15 and 21 from the PFW. So these were questions we put as we want to talk about these during her ISP meeting. All right, so there was those things on the PFW, and Haley being able to work on decision making and her wanting her snowmobile at her house instead of her family's house are going to be two things we're going to talk about. I'll give this a topic. Daily desires. All right? Done here. Okay? And these questions show up. All right? So here's a couple of things we're going to talk about. This is kind of a tough one. Add action plans from ISP as outcome. All right? So you're going to have next year, this is going to be important to you because you're going to have action items from last year's ISP to be able to add here. Okay? But right now, you're going to add different outcomes. So you want to hit this button here that says add other outcome. Okay? So let's hit that. So these are the things that Haley is working on. Okay, so what are her goals that she's working on at the residence? You know, what are some of the desires that she's working on, right? So Haley has a goal to increase her independence by doing a household chore daily. What's her progress? She's completed, she's maintaining it, she's making progress, not making progress. Okay? We're going to say that she's making progress. Add that here. Okay? You add other outcomes here. Haley, working on her decision-making skills. Okay. Maintaining, making progress, not making progress, needs more data. I'm going to say needs more data. This linked ISP report, it's not something you're going to use. You're not going to write ISP reports, nor will you have access to the ISP reports from the CSPs. So we'll just sit down here. Whoop. You need to add something here. Haley would like, Haley and we'll say that she is maintaining this. Okay? So these are the outcomes that she has. Okay? Then you have your required items. So these are the questions that the division wants you to answer for every person. Okay? So you're just going to hit select all. It's required that you answer all these questions. And we hit done here. Okay. And they're all going to be here. You can add an attachment here if you wanted to. If you got a report from the CSP, that could be added here. All right, choose that file, upload it there. There it is. So now once I have that ISP agenda, what I plan to talk about, TFW is linked to it. Okay. Now I want to approve it. I can't do the meeting minutes until it's been approved. Okay? So now I want to go back to the ISP agenda. and record the ISP meeting minutes. Okay? And it's going to tell you that it's no longer editable once I enter the meeting minutes. Do I want to continue? I do. Okay? And again, the dates and everything are here. Okay? So we have this discussion record, some of Haley's desires, okay? And action taken, okay? And we're going to have a action plan, okay? And what was that question? What would improve this person's ability to be, Haley needs to work on decision making, okay? So we are going to develop a goal for Haley to improve decision making and move her snowmobile to pier. Okay? Then you have these progress towards outcomes. Haley has a goal to increase her independence, and it says it's making progress. Haley is doing fairly well on this goal. She tends to choose the same chore all the time. We need to work on expanding her choices. So we're working on her decision-making skills, and we're seeing here that it needs more data. We change that if we wanted to. Oh, no, I did more data, and I'm going to say she's not making progress. Okay. Haley continues to struggle with making appropriate choices. Okay. And Haley has a goal to exercise 30 minutes daily, and we can say yes. We're saying that she's maintaining it, and we say Haley exercises 30 minutes. Okay. Let's see, we had a question here. Although it's easy to copy and paste into a Word document to answer the required questions, will you be creating an offline version to be filled out so it is easier at the meeting? Let's see. Jamie, we do have an offline version of the PFW, but it's a PDF. So are you looking to have a Word version of that so that you can type? I'm not sure what you're wanting. So are you looking for a Word version that you can? So you would like almost like a cheat sheet, right? So that you kind of knew what the questions were. Jamie, are you muted? Is there a way can you talk?
Jeff, can you hear me? Jeff?
Hello? Yes.
You can hear me?
I'm here, yes.
Okay. So just because of the fact that during the planning, you're not able to have the agenda approved, it would just be nice to have those questions there, kind of like how you guys did on the PFW, so that a person can fill it out, whether it be electronically or paper version, to go back and enter it later rather than just trying to scratch out, okay, the answer to number 1 was this. Does that make sense?
Okay, so all right, so take me through the process. So you've gone to the meeting, all right. So you've done the agenda, right, and it's approved.
It's not approved before the meeting because of the fact that until you enter your ISP information, if you approve it early, you're not going to be able to carry that stuff over to the agenda.
Well,
So like how the ISP has all your action plans and stuff, if you approve the agenda before you've got that complete, you can't go back and transfer that into the agenda. Where if you wait and you finish up your ISP first, you can then go back and add that into your agenda as well.
So you do it differently.
Maybe I'm just doing it all wrong, but...
Pardon?
I said maybe I'm just doing it wrong.
Well, it's one of those things where there's probably not a right way or a wrong way to do it. I'm just, I'm showing you how it's typically done.
So you would have the agenda approved prior to going to the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Do other people do it that way? All right, we have a comment here. Well, all right. So let's say this, Jamie. So say you approve it or don't approve it. So I am in the ISP agenda and I'm taking minutes. Let me. Oh. Okay. So if I wanted to take the, could you just hit display PDF here and bring this with you? And write your note, your
I guess, yeah, that would work. I didn't realize that it actually made all 13 of them larger in the PDF format. But is that only because you had already approved it, that it made it larger in all those areas? Or?
I actually think, well, let's hold on a second here. So because I screwed up royally. So let me do a new one. I guess I'm going to have to do a okay. So you have the individual items that we linked from the ISP agenda, yes. Okay. Okay. So what you like doing, Jamie, then is you like to put some of these action plans in the ISP and then put them as an outcome?
That is what I do currently, since I don't approve the agenda until after the ISP has been created. I'm then able to go back and add action plans from the ISP as outcomes.
Sure. No, that makes sense. And sometimes I worked for a company that, you know, back when I did this stuff, I worked for a company where you asked permission to go to the bathroom, right? So everything had to be approved by a supervisor. Okay, so I had to have an agenda approved by my supervisor before I went to the meeting. You see where that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where you guys, it seems like are structured a little bit differently, right? Jan and Karen, all those guys, they're not going to go in and approve 200 or 300 ISP agendas, right? They don't have the time or the inclination, and they probably said, Jeff, if you ever say that again, we're going to drive to New York and shoot, right? They can't do that.
Right.
So you do have, yes. So you do have some flexibility, and I guess my question is we can do this other ways. Is that's probably the most efficient way to do it. Would you agree with that, Jamie?
I would say it definitely could be done that way. I mean, if I'm approving it ahead of time, I guess I'm good with it not having the ISP stuff as long as I'm not going to get in trouble for it, which who knows with the state if that would be an issue or not.
You know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, because no matter what you do, whether you do it here or whether you do it in the actual ISP, they need to get entered.
Right.
So, I mean, it's kind of, one of those things. And they're in, the document's all linked, so they're somewhere, right? Whether they're in what this makes it easier for is year 2, right? Because now I can hit that, and those action plans come over, and I can mark down whether they're completed or, so these are the things they were working on last year, and this is what we're planning to do this year. So there's all sorts of kind of different ways to do it. I can tell you that this is the way we talked to the state about doing it, because we didn't know what the structure in South Dakota was going to be as far as approving things. Does that make sense? Yep. So. Yes, so now we want to look at what is the PDF for this new agenda. So there looks like there isn't one. So hold on a second, let's add some stuff here. So let's add another outcome. Okay. And then we want to add the required items. All right, so so now we can display the PDF. How does that look, Jamie?
That would work.
That would work. Okay.
By the way, you have a ton of questions over in the chat box.
I'm seeing that, yes. So let's stop here for a second. Okay, so we have Jamie, we have Stephanie. I don't think new programming goes in the agenda, it goes in the ISP prior to the meeting. Okay, so a couple things. It's somewhat of a misnomer. So when the premise of approving the ISP agenda is, that the agenda has been approved, and this is what we're going to be talking about. So one of the reasons you approve the agenda, if you were in a perfect world where, and hopefully we'll get here someday, in in South Dakota, you could be working on this agenda in conjunction with the CSPs. So, you know, they're able to see it. Well, actually, you could do that now. So one of the reasons to approve the agenda before you get to the ISP meeting is so that everybody is on the same page, so that the case manager, the day provider, and the res provider all know this is what we're talking about today. And when you come into the meeting, you need to be prepared to talk about these things. Okay? So that's kind of one reason to approve it, right? Because, you know, theoretically you could say, you know, something could get brought up that's not part of the agenda, and, you know, maybe ambush somebody, right? I mean, that happens. So that's kind of one reason to do it. But again, you know, it's kind of tough for me to say you should do this and not do that. I can kind of show you the mechanics of how to do things. Policies on how you're gonna do stuff is really gonna kind of be up to benchmark. You know, so you know, and here, you know, after October 1st, it wouldn't be out of the question for Jamie, you call up and you're having and again, excuse my geographical ignorance, but you can call Dakota Abilities and say, hey, we've got this ISP agenda for Haley tomorrow. Why don't you go in and look at the agenda that's been approved, and we can talk about it. So there's a number of kind of different ways that can be done.
So Jeff, the only way for the CSPs to see the agenda is for us to approve it, right? Because otherwise it just stays like on our work list.
He's not linked. Correct. Let's hold that question for right now. I'm not sure about that one. I'm going to have to do some testing. That I'm not 100% sure about. So let me do some testing on that. Ken.
Okay.
Okay. So let me approve this. And we'll go back to it. It's kind of like, so it's still, once even if it's approved, you can still edit it. So you could add stuff to this. Okay?
So it could be mostly completed and then add to it after the ISP meeting?
Right. So it doesn't really get locked until you do the meeting minute. Okay?
All right, thank you.
So we could add stuff. So there may be, and again, every state and every agency does things differently. So, you know, I've worked for places where the agenda is the agenda, and if you bring something up outside the agenda, you know, they take away your birthday party, right? So, you know, a lot kind of depends on the culture of where you work and who you're working with. All right. So now I'm able to kind of record those meeting minutes. All right? So let's do that. And this lets you know that once I screwed up earlier and I hit save. And when I hit save, it locked it. Okay? So this is telling you that once you record the minutes, it's no longer editable. Okay? So I hit OK here. And now I'm able to kind of do these meeting minutes. So we had Haley's desires here. And we're going to do a discussion record. Okay? Haley will do a household chore. She's not making progress. Haley. Okay? And then you have these required items. All right? So, unfortunately, I have been working with Julie Hand and Samantha Hines, I believe, to say, so our personal finances is managed by the CSPs, and there's an action taken, right? So the issue resolved, deferred, discussion record, action plan. So what, it would be nice if it were yes or no. If yes or no were two of your choices, but they're not. So we have been, and we put that request into our development team, but I'm not sure where it's going to go. I was kind of hoping that we would have some sort of, you guys could maybe get some sort of guidance, right? So if the question is, so our personal finance is managed by the CSP. If the question is yes, then maybe it's issue resolved, right? Or if it's no, it's deferred or it's a discussion record, right? The question is, what should your best practice be? If the question is yes, the finances are managed by the CSP, I probably want that discussed. Okay? Has the team discussed medication benefits versus risk? I want to say issue resolved because it was done, right? And this was done on August 15th, 2016 at Haley's home by Nurse Barb. Okay? Again, issue resolved. Okay? And again, if it's issue resolved, by choosing discussion record or action plan, you're going to have something to do in the actual ISP, right? Some of these questions are rather, it's kind of a yes or no, resolved or deferred or whatever, right? Has grievance training procedures occurred annually, right? Has the participant received training regarding their rights? Maybe has self-administration of medication been discussed with the team? And we had a discussion about that. Maybe he's currently not doing it, and he wants to do it. So we want to make an action plan. What's going to be our action plan for Haley to be able to administer her own medications? Again, noting back to some of the things we talked about, has the team discussed the amount of time a participant has alone? Well, we have a discussion record about that. Okay? Again, issue resolved, issue resolved. What does this question mean? Does the participant receive alternate services? Is that like something that's not waiver funded?
I think we usually look at it as the person is in maybe more of a meaningful day situation, or not targeted for employment or things like that. You know, they're being provided alternative type of services to their day.
Okay. And Jamie Folk says that they've been including voc rehab. Okay. And again, you just want to answer all these.
So Jeff, this is Denise again. This is after you've saved this to go into. Now this is after the ISP meeting, because prior to the meeting, a lot of these questions aren't going to be able to be answered unless you're reviewing for what happened last year, and that's what's in there, and you'll just update it.
Correct. Well, are some of these things, like this, for example, occurred annually? You know what I mean? Some of this stuff you have to, you know what I mean? You have to do every year.
Correct. And I think sometimes those things are done before the meeting, even like the annual training with Wright. They've done it Dakota.
Oh, okay, yeah, yep. So you're really just, you're just really marking that it was done. But yes, you're right. You can't do that until after the ISP, because once you record these minutes, the ISP agenda is locked.
Right.
You can't make edits. Okay.
I think that may be why it's maybe confusing for some of us, because even though it's an ISP agenda, there's things you're going to discuss. A lot of those things are done at the meeting, so those required questions make more sense having it in the ISP form, since it was done at the meeting, discussed, and I think that's maybe why it's confusing.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So let's look at it from where you get the ISP. Let's do that. So you can add an attachment here. Some people like to put a copy of the sign-in sheet. You know, if you did any sort of document, you know what I mean? If you put, you know, big sticky notes up on the wall, or you did some sort of, you know, kind of mapping document, and you want to take a picture of that and put that here, up to you. You know, you're kind of open to what you could put there. You don't have to put anything. You know, it's kind of up to you.
You could put like the ANE training if that's occurred, the signature for the ANE training or handbook.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay. Let's hit save here. All right. So now the ISP agenda is done. And I want to go through. I want to make sure I get all your questions answered. We talked about the last year's, yep. Stephanie asked, what are the dates for the review period? So it's the period going forward. So it'll be from, you know, if your IS, they should mirror what your IST dates are. Jamie talked about adding, including book rehab and alternative services. Okay. All right. Any questions about the ISP agenda before we move on to the actual plan? Okay. So now we move into the plan. We'll choose Haley here. Okay. So, you know, again, the name, you know, the date of birth would be there if it's in the, and it should be. And does the individual have a legal guardian representative, yes or no? We'll say yes. We'll do Haley's mom. Okay. And again, we put down the meeting date. We'll say it was today. And it started September 1st. And it goes until August of next year. What is most important to the individual? So again, that's that part from the personal focus worksheet that comes over. Here's that personal focus worksheet. And if I hit select here, it'll come over. And again, you could add to this. If you missed something, you could add. Okay? And then you have the risks. You know, you can add a risk. All right, we had talked earlier. Haley had an issue with constipation because of her diet. Okay. We could add a support document. So if we had a nursing care plan or something like that, we could do it. Just do it here. All right. What is this? Cerebral protocol. All right. Where is it kept? In a residential program? To the nursing binder. When was it placed there? It was updated on September 6th. Where is it kept at work? Therap, nursing care plan. And that was done on the 6th as well. Okay, then it kind of shows up there. Add professional service. Do you guys know, did we do, where are you guys at with your shared contacts upload? Have we ever done anything with that? Sharon or Laura or anybody? I know I believe we've talked about it, yes?
I don't think we've done anything with that yet. We were hoping to get some of those shared contacts from the CSPs, but we haven't really received any yet.
That's a good idea.
And also, if we want to add in anything, we don't have access or we're not authorized to enter them in.
The shared contacts are can be a touchy subject because agencies tend to keep kind of a tight lid on who can add shared contact, right? Because they can be entered in multiple times, okay? Sometimes doctors may have a uncommon last name and it could get spelled, you know. My pediatrician growing up was Dr. Pete Patukis, right? How many times could you probably spell Patukis? So that's one reason they're not done. You know, not everybody has the ability to do that. It's typically the folks who are your provider administrators, and in Benchmark's instance, it's the Casey and the 4 regional directors. And again, you can change that if you want. If you wanna open it up, I mean, you know, what would be nice is if, because you guys are statewide, if you could get those from the, and again, the CSPs that use them, if you could get them from them, it would probably cover a good 80% of what you need. You know, we tend not you know, we're a little not as penetrated in the western part of the state with providers using us, but for the, you know, I mean, you've got, you know, 15 out of 19 providers use us, so there should be, I would think, you know, if you could get that list from them and create one Excel spreadsheet, that would be absolutely phenomenal. You know?
My question is, just on the benchmark there itself, are we able to do shared contacts amongst each other as case managers so that if someone starts typing in a doctor's name, it would automatically populate and all the information would come up?
That's what you're looking, yeah, that's what, so if you create it here in the ISP, no, that doesn't happen. You have to be able to create them from the administration portion of it. I mean, and I'm willing to discuss this, you know, with people as far as how you want to, you know, open that up to be able to be done. But it is the way it is right now, where you wouldn't necessarily, the individual case managers don't have the ability to do that right now with the way that the account is configured. It could be, but again, that's a kind of a decision, you know, Casey and the regional folks have to think about. And try, you know, and how do you get rid of the, I mean, there'd be a lot to it, like how do you get rid of the duplicates and all that stuff, but geez, it would be a if you could even get 4 or 5 people to give you their shared contacts, I think you'd come up with a pretty decent list.
What's working now is we're getting that information from a person's ISP from like the community support providers in there, who the doctor is, the address, for their contact info, but we're having to type it every time. It'd be nice for it to be able to be, for us to be able to save them and anyone to access that click on that doctor, and it would automatically go into the form for the service provider, the professional services.
Right. Do I have? I thought I had some shared. I thought I had some shared contacts in here, but maybe I didn't. Maybe they're in the. Oh, yeah, here they are. So I have a bunch. Yeah, I have a bunch of. I have a bunch here in this demo account. So I could add. Kind of who. You know what I mean? And again, if they're in a shared contact, then that information comes over. Right. So
Yeah,
this
that'd be
is. That's, are any of the regional directors on the call?
I am Jeff. I think it's just me.
Okay.
Laura's been in and out.
Laura's been in and out. Okay. So I'm just trying to think of a way that you could do this. It wasn't overly. Let me think about it. I'll send you guys an email.
Can you do it
I talk
by
to you guys.
region in a program?
I talk to you ladies on a daily basis. Yeah, I would tend to think that would be your best bet is to do it regionally, and then you can, because you can do as many uploads as you want, right? So if you did, if and Karen, what region are you in? Or Sonia, I'm sorry.
It's just Karen, I think.
Oh, okay. So
Southeast.
you could, so you do your region, and then whoever, Laura does her region, and you know what I mean? Then you do 4 different uploads, and they're all in there. So that, that's kind of like, one way to do it, another way to do it is to get an intern. When we, at the agency I used to work for, we actually, my daughter who was, had just graduated from high school, we paid her to do our shared contacts for us. So, there's kind of there's a number of different ways to go about it.
It might be possible to have Jenny, our office manager, be the administrator of that and take care of it all. Like we could pool, all of the doctors and professional services, and then she could put them in by region, maybe.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of it, and I don't know. Part of it now is that you got probably a fairly large body of information in these ISP plans. And I'm just trying to think of a way. for you to be able to get that information out, I just don't know of it. I'm gonna have to ask. You know.
Yeah, that's
So all right. So let's
maybe that on as a topic when we meet with you.
Yes, absolutely. What else? All right. So you know, so you add all those in. I'm just gonna do the one right now for the sake of brevity here. So then you have the service support. This is not going to work for you right now. When we get it working right, so let's say you're doing this ISP plan and Haley gets services from LifeQuest. When I hit add service support here, LifeQuest is going to show up. And I can add them. And however other many service providers they get, I can do that. Okay? And now I want to add action plan and discussion record from ISP agenda. So let's hit that. Okay? And we have this little one we did here, so let's get that one. All right. So we have all that. And we're going to add those. Oops, select these. So these are the 4 action items, required action items that we decided we were going to have a discussion around. Okay? And this one that we added. So let's add those. Okay? So again, this is for maybe folks maybe that weren't following. We had talked about the action plans, right? So you could do them here, or you could do them, well, I'm sorry, let me say this. So you could do them here before you approve the agenda and import them, or you could do them here and have them be part of the ISP agenda. Again, I don't, you know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. You've got to enter them in. Sounds like there's not a hard and fast rule around approving agendas, so it might be easier. And again, I don't know if you want everyone to do it the same way, or you know what people are comfortable with. But so the one desired outcome is we want Haley wants to make better decisions, and the need and the issue is Haley often makes poor decisions. Okay? Then add new action item. Okay? Description of the measurable steps. So Haley will choose an item for dessert that is under 200 calories. All right. Is it at home? I was going to say yes, and who's responsible, and you put down the program manager, right? You know, how often do you do it? All right, 3 times a week. Where do you record it? Again, if they used Therap, an ISP program in Therap. All right. And we record. We have a question here. The state has directed us to state our outcomes differently than your example. It should be as if it was already done, not that it was going to happen. Okay. And add the outcome measure. So I click on this. I'm able to choose a CQL. Okay. Are there any of the CQL outcome measures? Right. People realize personal goals. People choose personal goals. People exercise rights. Okay, so we have something that's not enabled. We're going to take care of that when I'm done. It's an easy fix. Link ISP program, you could ignore this. Again, if we were in a perfect world and you were sharing, you were able to access the primary accounts of the CSPs and they wrote an ISP program, you could link that ISP program here. Okay? So then these are the different outcomes. Yes?
This is Joy. So you said in the ideal world we could link it. So in the Southeast region we do have a few folks with our CSPs where we do have access to their primary account.
Yeah,
but
this is different. So you're able to go into their accounts with your own login name. That's different than if your account and their account were linked together through the oversight. That's a different process. So yeah, you won't be able to do that right now.
So should we potentially, when we do it with the access that we currently have, and the CSP does the work and puts the program together, we can go in there and save it and we could attach it? Should we do that?
That is, technically you have the capability to do that.
Right.
Should you? That would be something you'd have to ask them.
Okay.
You know, in effect, it's their program, it's their data, and you know, like I said, yes, you do have the technical capability to be able to do that. They should, you know, I would ask those individual providers if you can. Does that make sense?
Sure.
It would be nice, again, if you could just click on that and be able to do it. I think at some point in the near future you will. I think they'll give up on these secondary accounts once they realize the amount of work it takes, but for now you can't. Hello? Oh. My phone made a strange noise, and I thought maybe I'd gotten knocked off. All right. So I'm looking at the chat here. Okay. And again, you can add as many action plans to here as you want. Okay. And those are really the, what are the personal goals that the folks are working on in their day in residential programs. Then you have the discussion records. So these were items from the agenda. So Haley's Desires, for example, was something we had in the agenda. And these other three are come from the required questions. So we could add those. Yep. So everybody, the ISP personal outcomes, there's something I have to do inside your account to make that work. So when I'm done here, I will do that for you. Those should have been enabled when we set up your account, and they weren't. So our personal finance is managed by the CFP. Yes, Haley's finances are managed by the CFP, and Haley would like to manage her own with assistance from her sister Angie, who is an accountant. All right, and in decision, Haley will open a savings okay? And then we could add an action plan from here, right? So this is the action plan that should make better decisions, okay? So we link that action plan to this discussion. All right? Then we will go through and answer all these, right down to this, the decision, was a participant involved in ISP facilitation. Haley was actively involved. In fact, she facilitated the agenda. Haley should continue. So we have a comment here. Jessica asked if we want all those required questions to be added to the ISP, they have to be clicked as discussion record. Correct. Yes. So in order for them to show up on the ISP, they have to either be marked as discussion record or action plan. All right, Haley's Desires. Discussion. Mr. Aguelo stated that if Haley wants to move her snowmobile you can buy it from him for $5,000 and pay for the insurance. Right? Pull the dad move. All right? And the decision was Haley has decided to keep her snowmobile at her parents'. Okay? And maybe something came up. Wasn't on the agenda, and we discussed it. So I can add a discussion record. What was the need or the issue? Haley's sister is moving from home to Chicago. Haley was quite upset about this. She worries she won't see her sister very much anymore. And the decision would be Haley would visit her sister twice a year. Okay? And there you have it all there. Again, that external attachment, you could do that. Again, if there were meeting minutes written, I knew an individual who used to take meeting minutes in their own symbols. You could very easily scan and attach that here. Again, the sign-in sheet, if you want to put that on here, you could, as opposed to the agenda. Any sort of pictures, whatever you want it to do, you would be able to do that here. Okay. Oops. Just go back. And then exceptions. So team members will be contacted to obtain verbal approval for all changes to the ISP or support documents. Are there any exceptions to that? Typically you put that disclaimer. Exceptions include any risk to immediate health and safety. We kind of skipped this part here in the middle about nursing plans. Somebody asked about rights restrictions. Do you know, Jessica, I don't remember off the top of my head, are rights restrictions one of the required questions you have to answer? Because somebody, I can't, I can't remember whether it was one of them or not.
You know, no, I put it in my agenda to talk about them,
Okay.
but I don't remember a ARSD question about the restriction.
All right, so you don't think they're one of those required?
Unless anyone else can state that they found where they put the rights restrictions. I'm just going to maybe put it under discussion boards on the bottom of it, maybe.
Yeah, I would do this here, add discussion record.
Yep.
And do rights restrictions.
And maybe there isn't a right way. I have people saying put it under here, and then some people saying they put it under risk. I mean,
yeah. So, for example, if a risk was like illegal behavior, or maybe they had a one-to-one because they were a falling risk or harming others. Yeah, I could see where it would be there as well. But you're not really discussing it. You know what I mean? There's no place to put like a if you would a minutes. You know, you could put the behavioral support plan there, but would it? You know, where would you discuss? Well, you know, other than maybe within that behavior support plan, that those rate restrictions were visited and decided to either continue or change them. Does that make sense?
correct. I mean, you could attach the rights restriction, I guess, that the CFP made and approved, but I don't know if you're going to get that within 15 days of this needing to be out. That's the only concern I have with attaching the rights restriction, that you're going to have to wait for it. And maybe other agencies do it differently. I'm just thinking of my past one.
Okay. Some of this stuff here, this person have a nursing care plan, you know, self-explanatory. You know, where is it? If they have one, medical problem list. You know, if it's found, you know, where is it found? And I think this one, does the person have a healthcare representative? We weren't really sure what that meant, so I think we're kind of just ignoring this question in South Dakota. Give an example of what you think a nursing care plan includes. So was there something written by the nurse? So for example, there's a module within Therap called nursing care plans. So people will often write those. There may be a care plan. Let's say, for example, somebody has a catheter. So what is the plan for cleaning, emptying, and disinfecting the catheter? Somebody has, again, we talked earlier about chronic constipation. So is there a bowel protocol? You know, if they don't have a bowel movement within a day, do they get milk or magnesia? If it's 3 days, do they get an enema? When do you call the doctor? Those types of things. Seizure plan or suicide plans. A seizure plan, I think, would be, yeah, here, a nursing care plan. If you had a suicide plan, would that be, I would assume, one of the risks? So it's one of the risks. And if you had a plan, you would add it. And he says seizures also under risk. Yep, so you could add it there. Either way. Gene is asking, where are CFP assessments downloaded? Right now they're not downloaded anywhere, but eventually they will be downloaded into the document storage within the provider account, which you'll have access to. Any questions on the ISP? Holly, it says you have your hand raised. Is that true? Do you have a question?
No, I don't. Sorry. This was
Okay.
having issues with my computer. Thanks.
No, it happens. Don't worry about it. And then again, you would approve this. And then you're done. Let's all right, so now you'll be able to do those CQL outcome measures. You can link those.
Jeff, can you take them through how to do an ISP revision? Like say they have a team meeting and they need to revise the plan?
Great question. So you have a change to the ISP you want to make. You want to search for it. Okay? You do the individual. That's probably the easiest way. And there's Haley's ISP. Okay? And I want to scroll down here to the bottom and create a change form. Okay? So again, I can write here the send date. Usually the same as the date you make the change. Okay? Who was the change initiated by? You know, so if it's you or somebody within your agency, you could choose them here. All right. If not, you write down who it was. If there's a document you're changing, adding or discontinuing, what is it? Okay, we'll say protocol. Okay. Reason for the change. Protocol is ineffective. Okay. List a specific change. Milk of magnesia was proven to be ineffective. Measure on Haley's valve. And where is that change documented? On a medication administration record and bowel protocol. Do a verbal. If you had team members linked, and again, not going to do you a lot of good because you're not going to have access to the team members from other agencies, so that doesn't need to be here. If you had something you wanted to upload, if there was something and then you would activate this. Oops, and I hit other here. Huh. Then I'm going through. Let's say let's do this. And documenting the ISP. Okay. Reason for change. Risk is no longer valid. MD has removed constipation diagnosis from Haley's record. All right. Then I said activate this and edit ISP. So now I'm in the ISP. Click on this. Delete it. Okay. And that risk for constipation is no longer there. I'm going to hit update. Any questions on that?
Jeff, this is Denise. If we've already completed some ISP forms and like that add outcome measures hasn't opened up, is that where we would do the change for that also, to be able to go back and add that information?
Let's see. Good question. Yes. So you go into the action plan, hit edit, and then add outcome measure. And you can add whichever one of these you wanted.
Awesome, thank you.
You just have to remember that the C2L outcomes are part of the action plan. You're not going to see a specific link. You have to go in and edit the action plan.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Yeah, but I thought there was like you could reorder through a discussion record. Can you give an example where we do, why we do that?
A couple reasons. One is, say like you had, we had one there called, and it's a lot, it has a lot to do with perception. So, we had one called Haley's Desires, and it was listed as the last thing we discussed. Well, maybe you want to put that first, right? That should be the first thing we talk about, what Haley wants. So you could do that. Some people are they want the discussion record to demonstrate the actual chronological order they discussed things, right? So maybe it was listed one way on the agenda and we discussed it a different way just because of the way the meeting flowed. You could reorder it so that it was in chronological order, right? We talked about this, then that.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Again, it's more of a personal preference and perception. Some people want to be very clear. We discussed this first, then this. Because sometimes, despite your best efforts, the agenda can get away from you, and you end up talking about things not in the order you had originally planned. Or maybe you want to talk about, some people like to talk about positive things before they talk about negative things. Those types of perceptions.
Jeff, are you planning to go through the quarterly document?
I was not. I can.
Do we have time?
Yes. Yep. So the quarterly monitoring, it's this one here. It's the version 2000, and you should only have one activated. So it should be this one, the 2006.6.8. So let's do a new one here. And a program. And I guess we'll choose Kenneth here. Okay. So you put in the ISP date. What did you actually, when is the ISP start date? You have, Denise, and like I said, I wasn't planning on going this, so I don't know if you have the most current. Whatever one you have in your account is the most current. So let's see if we can find this. It might not be in there. Yeah, let me look at this. So let's do. There we go. Choose a person. And again, you do the day of the ISP, when the quarter started, right? So April through July. All right, then you want to do the date that you did the observation. All right, so we did one on the 9th, the location where it occurred. And if I did a second observation, I hit add, and again the date. All right. Describe participant involvement in monitoring. So what did a participant do to help monitor? And again, what is working this quarter from the person supported perspective? From the case management perspective? From the provider perspective? Somebody asked if we could create these make these text boxes a little bit bigger. I don't see why we couldn't. Let me ask about that. Okay. Again, what is not working this quarter? From the case management perspective. All right. And from the family and guardian perspective. Okay. Are supports being provided, yes or no? And if no, why not? You have your ISP goals. So you have an exercise goal. And again, if you want to add a second one, or as many as you want. Are there any revisions or interventions needed? Yes. Residential exercise time should be increased. What changes need to be made to the action items for ISP programs? Are there any changes that needed to be made? Exercise time should be increased. By who? And when? And we said that's going to take place October 1st, or 3rd rather. No, it didn't delete it. It should all still be there. So yes, it would have been deleted. No, I just scrolled down. What follow-up has been completed? Do discovery tools need to be updated, yes or no? Identify and explain any changes to significant events. Shirley's grandmother recently passed away. She and Shirley were close. Shirley experienced the this and was dead. Summary and analysis of the incidents that occurred during the quarter. Shirley had 2 incidents of missed medications due to the residents not sending them to day program on time. Are there any changes that needed to be made? Nurse at day program will alert residents earlier when medications are low. Meds. All right, we'll say that's today. And then the behavior plan. Describe the behavior plan and rights restrictions. Sharp objects must be locked. Plan progress will continue as written. What is working? Surely that is not up herself in 2 months. All right, you add that. Okay. You can add as many of those as you want. Medical appointments. Again, hopefully you're going to get results of appointments uploaded into the I'm hoping you can cut and paste from those, but you're going to get those. You're going to get you should get the health care plan uploaded from by the CSP into the document storage. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a minute. So you do that for all the medical appointments. Any sort of changes that need to be made for health. Any follow-up since the last quarterly review. And, you know, you put in your name here that you completed this, the date, and the time. Describe how quarterly monitoring was shared with the ISP team. I downloaded it and sent as XCOM. Information was sent to my supervisor. What happened there? Having some sort of technical issue here. And when did I send it? Okay. And then approve it. And if folks are using the health tracking module, Denise, could this information sent to box be bigger? Absolutely. Let's see if we can do that. What we would like for people to do, and again, if the CSPs are using their health tracking to the extent they should, we hope they send you this. So if I hit healthcare report new and choose the person, I'm going to do a begin and end date. And I include everything. You'll get this. Healthcare report. Right? Tells you their developmental disability, their allergies, diagnoses, all the appointments and the results. Any of the stuff that was being tracked was blood glucose, weight, immunizations, medication history, seizures. So if you have this information, it'll be very easy to fill out that. So we're hoping that the CSPs who use Therap regularly for health tracking will upload that or download that and then upload it for you. Any questions on the quarterly monitoring tool? All right. Any other questions? Yes, you're right, Denise. The health tracking report would be nice for the quarterly monitoring reports. Yes. Jamie's asking, how soon do you see info pulling into the quarterly by being able to link? I'm not. I don't think that's not possible with a custom form. So you wouldn't be able to actually link information from other modules within Therap. And again, at some point, that quarterly monitoring tool may be done in a different module. But for right now, it's in the custom forms, and we did that as kind of a quick thing to get started. And it's not possible to do some sort of linkage with that. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Jamie. It just doesn't the custom form doesn't work that way. But it's just kind of the way that it's programmed, and I know it's somewhat hard to explain. The custom form is kind of a glob of information. They don't link to anything. So. All right. Well, thank you all very much.
Jeff, are you going to show them the document storage? Are you going to show them the document or not? Or is it possible?
I can, yeah, absolutely. So document storage, how they do it?
Yeah, how they're going to access it, I guess. Or, well, yeah, sure. They want to see our, our larger assessments and handbooks and things like that. And
yep. So So this individual tab here is where the document storage is. So you are able to upload documents and look at documents through document storage. So the way to get started is, you do new here. All right. and you, type in the name of the person. And again, you get suggestions here. Choose the person. You choose what type of document it is. So you have a bunch of different ones here that are predefined by Therap. And then folks like the regional directors and Casey have the ability to add other types. So if there's a type of document you want added here, I would get that information to that. Okay? So let's say we have a consultant report here. Okay? And the date that you received it. And when is it valid from? And again, in Therap, everything that has a red asterisk is required. So some of this stuff is not required. For example, your CSPs will be uploading their LOCs on here. So those will have a valid date. So I want to say it's valid from today, or September 1st rather, till September 1st of next year. Okay? And this is some sort of consultant report. All right, so this is a an assessment on the ability to consent to hernia surgery. All right. You could add a comment here. So, for example, if you wanted to do something, birth certificates, guardianship papers, yes, all that stuff can go here. Comment. Say, for example, you had something, the original LLC, right? You could write, right? Really important documents you don't want. All right, and then you just find that file. And there it is. I hit save here, and then it's available. And then you can search for it. So if you want to search your document storage, you hit search here. And again, if you wanted to do the person, is probably the easiest. And then all their document storage is right here. And I can go in and look at it. And downloads it for me. Yeah, so you guys kind of decide what kind of documents you want to put there. It's a great place to put those stuff so you don't have oodles and oodles of binders all over the place. Information. Again, some of your more permanent things that you're always going to need: the birth certificate, the guardianship papers, kind of one-time documents. It's a great place to store that stuff. Any questions on document storage? All right. Anything else for today? All right, bored you all to death.
Anybody have any questions on case notes or anything that they want to ask Jeff while he's here? Sounds like we're good.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much.
All righty. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.